a crack, coming back, having a crack.
We started. I would have said that. I was talking to Philip Kostelacki, and I can't remember what I said. But after I said it, he looked at me for a second and he went, "That's a very progressive point, racistly made." And I was like, "Thank you. I'm going to sit with that."
That is your brand.
That's kind of your brand, though.
That is my brand.
Yeah.
It's not actually racist at all. It's actually very progressive, but I just said it without any moving any of the curves at all. So it just I can't remember what I said. It was probably something. It was probably something to do with population demographics percentage wise. That's usually what it is.
But that is the Southeast. That is Lewis, isn't it? Like it's racial bias built in. Like they haven't been able to kick it out yet because it's so ingrained in them. But they are quite progressive.
Well, you can't really kick the racial bias out when there's only white people.
Yeah.
You can start.
Who are you being biased to?
There's like sub-whites and stuff.
The sub-whites.
Yeah,
Who's
Polish,
a sub-white?
Czechs.
I suppose
Romanians.
would I be kind of...
There's not many of them.
Irish.
in
I'm
the
Irish
Southeast.
white.
Irish,
Irish white
there we
is
go.
sub-white, isn't it?
There we
Not
go.
anymore.
Victoria had a whole bit
I think it's like American rules
Yeah.
now, where you're kind of
Yeah, America has changed it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
America just kind of tried to incorporate everyone into their white supremacy. They were just like, we'll fucking stop picking
I think-
on all ye
I think
if you become white
I
supremacy.
think the Irish.
A lot of Irish people took up that. You know what I mean? They were like, yeah, fuck it. You know what I mean?
I think the Irish. I think
I'd rather be a killer than be killed. You know, like.
I think a lot of Irish people
Yeah.
still think that they're sub-white, or still want to think that, so that they can have a sort of edge and be in the sort
Well,
of
they're-
have some sort of like social progressive angle on it. But the reality is like, nah, you're just the same as the rest of us now.
There is a little bit of, like obviously Irish people have always been picked on and mistreated by British people, and there is a part of me that's kind of like, that Britain suddenly decided that, they were going to elevate people who were victims as soon as Irish people stopped being victims. It's almost like they're only doing it to fucking goad us.
That
you
is,
know what I mean?
that is what we were doing. Yeah, that is.
How did you
We
know?
actually, we actually decided specifically
Let's
that.
continue the punishment.
told him.
Like, look, we don't like the rest of them. We've never liked them. But the Irish, fuck them. No. If we could bite our tongue and accept the Indians so the Irish can be even more subjugated, then we will do that.
So, if anyone wants to know who to send the hate mail to, the guests we have this week,
But-
we have David Anthony
Yeah.
with us this week, and Adam Coumas is with us this week. So you've been
Adam will make a racist point progressively, mate.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
that's the key difference between the guests
Yeah, I think so.
this week. I think.
Why are we talking about race, lads? Why is that?
I don't know.
Where did that
Cause-
come?
'cause you've been in Cornwall for free.
Philip Kostelacki
Oh,
said
yeah,
it
yeah,
about
yeah,
me,
yeah,
and I thought it was funny.
Do you know that I'm just back from Mexico, right? And do you know what I thought was interesting? But I seemingly nobody else thinks this is interesting. But
It's good you bring it up, then.
yeah,
This is what the podcast's about,
but
isn't it?
the whole.
Save all the boring shit for the pod.
A bad fact, badly told.
Yeah.
You know what? Every single person I've told this to has said this is the most boring thing they've ever heard. But I think third time lucky. I
Yeah,
think
well,
this is
we'll
gonna work.
just see. We'll just see, right? But obviously the whole Idris Elba, James Bond debate about putting black people into roles that were historically white.
Sure.
You know that whole debate.
Yeah.
I'm in Mexico, right? Yeah, from 2 years ago, right? I'm in Mexico in the 1600s in Mexico. A Virgin Mary appeared to a Mexican man, and she had brown skin. And the Catholic Church built a basilica in her honor, turned her into a Catholic Church icon, and she, they did that without any debate. There was no one in the Catholic Church going, no, the Virgin Mary has white skin. They were just like, yeah, that's grand. We'll call her the Virgin of Guadalupe. She's brown skin.
I think that's interesting.
That is interesting.
I think it's
isn't
interesting.
it?
Yeah. Because when did that change? When did that
I
change?
don't know. When did that start to piss people off?
No, I think that, but everyone has puts their own race on there. Isn't there like a Korean Jesus?
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. I hope that's just not from the movie.
Well, it is also
a
from a
green-
movie.
a
It
green-
is also from a movie.
Korean.
Korean.
Yeah,
I mean, you
Koreans
are
famously
correct
not
in thinking it's from 21 Jump Street. There's a whole
Yeah.
joke in it where
Yeah,
Ice Cube
yeah.
says apologize to Korean Jesus. But I think that is also
But
a
that's
thing.
like a common thing of like, how else are you gonna get them to worship the
Yeah,
God if they don't look like you?
exactly.
or
Like,
whatever?
and they were like,
Can we look
Catholic
up
Church are
Korean
basically-
Jesus?
Have a look. And they were
Thank you.
obviously like they were doing the calculations. Like there's more brown people. Like you know what I mean. And we'll get the whole of South America. I reckon to put Idris Elba and James Bond, it would break James Bond box office records.
But no,
100%.
it would. I mean, I think at this point he's probably a little too old now.
So would you put Will Smith?
Like, don't crack though.
Well, no. I mean, Will Smith's probably too old as well. But like, there's other
He's
people.
too violent.
He needs to be someone who.
Is that your man?
Someone who's new.
Sorry?
Is that your man?
Oh, there's
I mean, that is a Korean Jesus.
It's hard to tell if it's Korean Jesus.
Fuck us,
or-
Rips
Who's
on
the
the
rips? What's that magazine, you know, where they have the guys the topless. That's
Oh,
it.
Men's Health.
Men's
yeah.
Health, fucking Jesus.
jacked.
Doesn't look very Korean, actually.
No.
Maybe one guy does.
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of.
That's actually a little bit more racist. That someone's going like, "Is that Korean?"
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, let's not
But,
judge that.
so
yeah.
the Catholic Church have basically been doing that for forever.
Catholic Church, very progressive in that very
One
specific
institution
area.
I've no qualms with.
yeah, you know, that's not one of their areas.
Are
of
you
faith.
are you going to stand by everything the Catholic Church does?
Yeah.
Because last time I
For this
was
episode,
last time I was here,
comedy,
I professed my support for everything the Chinese government does. So I
Oh
think
no,
it
I
would
can
be
jump
good.
on board with that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, we all are. When we're all on TikTok, that's kind
Oh,
of the same-
100%,
that's kind of the same
100%.
thing.
I'm not on
100%.
TikTok.
You know, on TikTok.
No,
Well, you've got to get left behind. so.
no. You know, the only reason I'm not on TikTok is, well, other than the fact that I just
Lazy.
It is lazy, but also I have too many social media apps that I just spend all day flicking
Oh.
through, and I just know that's going to be another one.
Yeah.
And I manage, you know, those like annoying games like
Try
Candy Crush and stuff
self-control,
that you
that's
got on
what
your
it is.
phone.
Yeah, yeah.
Self-restraint, that's really.
Mate, you are not one to talk. You have absolutely no self-restraint in your life at all. What the fuck are you talking about?
Very well put together, thank you very much.
I recovered from an addiction. What fucking self-restraint have you ever shown?
Never got addicted in the first place.
True.
Pretty big one.
You got addicted to other things.
You think you're all right, mate?
I know you too well to know what you're addicted to, but I also am good enough friends. I'm not going to bring it up here.
Racism. It's racism.
It's racism.
Yeah.
It's racism progressively put.
Yeah. Do you know, I played Angry Birds for the first time a couple of weeks ago.
Another
Have you
3-year-old.
played Angry Birds?
I mean, yeah, it's, you know,
Yeah.
you're like Fryer and
I was on a
buildings, right?
5-hour bus journey, and
Yeah.
fuck me, I got into it. Like,
What made you?
They're already
what
addicted.
made you go for Angry? Why was Angry Birds?
it was the only thing on the bus.
It's the oldest one there.
It was on a bus, like, you know.
Oh, so it wasn't on your own phone?
No,
it was on a
it was
screen.
on a
and-
Oh, well, then
screen.
that's fine because as long as you don't have it on your phone, then you're never going to be able to get away from it.
Oh.
Because I had loads of those little ones. Like I had one like called Township where you just make a little town, and it's all just on timers. So it's like you build this, it takes 4 hours, or you could spend money to build it in now, and you're like, it doesn't do anything.
Did you spend money on it?
No, I never did. I always managed to resist it, but it was always there.
You do have self-restraint.
Enough self-restraint to not spend money on these things, but like, you know, there was always one of them going. There's always one of these games going. I managed to get all of them off my phone, so now I'm just trying not to include any similar
Yeah,
things.
Yeah.
Kind of a detox.
Yeah, because probably I work pretty much entirely off my phone as well, so I can't really escape my phone. So if I can not add anything new that will just spend hours just wasting it away.
It's a very something that helps. It's a boring point, but something that helps me is turning off all notifications for
Yeah.
Instagram.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, I have that
including this-
already,
and then
yeah.
and removing them from your home screen. So when you flick up your phone, the first thing is in the app. Just
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't get rid of it on Instagram because too many people contact me on Instagram and I need to see those
For the-
messages.
yeah, I've missed messages,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
So, yeah.
do you know what? Like,
Yeah.
people shouldn't expect you to know on it.
But that's not the bit about Instagram that annoys me. It's not the alerts. It's that it's once you sort of get into the flicking through it thing, and then
Oh, just
it's just instinct. I just constantly I flick over my phone and suddenly I'm back on it. I was just in Cornwall for a few days, and it's beautiful out
They have
there. Lovely
Instagram down
scenery,
there?
lovely scenery. They got Instagram everywhere, baby. They got you can't get away from it. But it was so I was really annoyed at myself every so often. Like I'd be out sort of walking on the hills, looking at these cliffs or whatever, and it's beautiful. I shouldn't need any more stimulation than just that, and yet every so often I'm looking at my phone. I don't even know I'm doing it, and I'm like, fuck
Well,
it,
it's
put it
a
away.
bit. It's like, did you ever smoke? You did smoke, didn't you?
Yeah, but I never
No
actually got addicted to
self-restraint.
smoking.
But I used to be addicted to smoking, and the phone is exactly the same because you're doing it without even thinking of doing it. Like there's no. Like I remember when you're addicted to smoking, like you never think, "Oh, I'll have a cigarette." You just pull them out and start having one, and the phone is completely
Halfway
the
through it
same.
before you even realise.
You have it, and you don't even want to do it. Like, you
Yeah,
know?
like cigarettes. I mean, social media is gonna be like cigarettes. In 20 years' time, we're gonna look back and be like, you just let 14-year-olds have phones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the way we look at 50s adverts, or like
Oh,
the
yeah.
proliferation of smoking, we're gonna look back and be like, pregnant ladies, why are we all just
Imagine,
Well,
if,
especially
if it affected pregnancy.
Yes.
Did you have a miscarriage? Yeah, I was fucking on Instagram too much. Yeah, the baby there belted from the womb. Decided to get rid of itself.
But also, it's a little loophole. There's a lot of southern states in America where you can't get an abortion, but you can get Instagram, so it will work out.
I'll tell you what would be
That is the-
interesting. I'll
that's
tell
the
you
kind
what
of
would be
point
interesting.
Phil was talking about.
There's
It-
nothing racist there.
What would be
Maybe.
interesting is, you know, like we're sort of moving towards like maybe like a Cold War or a Third World where the different world systems are fighting against each other. Like imagine like the Chinese sort of started spreading their economic model, and a part of their economic model was they really regulated social media so it wasn't so distracting, and the productivity of those countries went through the roof.
That's the thing.
And then suddenly we are poor because we're hooked on the phone, and they have inflicted like a century of economic humiliation on us because none of us work because we're all hooked on our phone, and they're just over there like fucking calm,
Kogi's
cool.
right though. They kind of already do that.
That's
they've
what they're doing.
introduced TikToks, and they're not really. They've got their own. Their own social media, and they are quite heavily
Go on,
regulated.
dive in.
Well, apparently in China, they really limit the amount of time a day that teenagers can spend on it.
Yeah.
And they also have different algorithms where they promote things like engineering and like good behavior and like good citizenship. Whereas here, it's just like the base trash that they can, put out.
So it's the reverse of the opium wars.
Yet again,
Yeah,
yet
it
again,
is.
and I didn't want this to come up unless it came up organically. But yet again, I have no choice but to stand by the Chinese in everything they do. These are good ideas. These are good progressive ideas.
You actually look like you're wearing their uniform. The red shirt,
It's
the
one
black
of the main reasons why I like them so much is that I appreciate everyone wearing a uniform. I think that's a good move. You don't have to think about it.
You must have
Well,
loved school, man.
It's funny,
No,
like you were
I didn't
saying,
like the uniform in that school. I wanted the Chinese uniform.
the Chinese. We were saying about the cat. People. Was it John Lennon who said that religion was the opium of the masses? And then you look at
That
the
was actually Karl Marx.
Was it Karl Marx?
And it's also not the full quote. People don't understand
Yeah, but
that.
what's the full? But that's the most
The full- the
bad
full
thing.
quote.
I think it's the best opium going. Like it's obviously the safest.
No, that's kind of his point.
All right.
People always misunderstand.
Yeah, you idiot. Jack, you moron.
People always misunderstood that point.
He's got very good at undivided.
No, people always misunderstood that point. They always use it against religion. They're always like,
People like
Marx
you
said
misunderstood.
religion is the opium masses. First of all, Marx said a lot of shit and he was an alcoholic. He said a lot of fucking
So
nonsense.
Marx isn't the guy who said all you need is love.
No.
That was John Lennon.
But he did write A Day in the Life. He did actually write that one. No, he was. If I remember rightly, it was more sort of the larger point. The whole quote is basically saying that, like, it is an opium to masses, and it's like soothes you, not that it's an addictive substance that destroys your life, because that's not how opium was really viewed at that point. That it's a soothing subject, kind of like saying it's the paracetamol of the masses.
Calpol.
Yeah, it's like
Calpol.
it helps them get through it. So it's not actually saying this is a bad thing. It's actually saying like this is kind of a necessary thing for a lot of people to have to get through the shit that the capitalism gives them. So.
Fair enough. He was a smart. What was his name again? He was
Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney said that.
Yeah. Yoko Ono, I think it was.
Any news stories in the news taking your eye at the minute, Adam, or anything? Dave?
I did have a look, but most of it's quite depressing and about the Ukraine, so I thought we'll not go with that.
So you're still following the war? You're the only one I know.
No, it's the first one up there.
TikTok's got less funny. I haven't really.
Everyone else is like season 1 very exciting, but season 2.
I look on the BBC website, and the first 3 stories about Ukraine, and I just go, well, I'm not even going to look at those. And then there was something I saw about. I think it's Ireland wants John Lydon from the Sex Pistols to be in Europe.
No, he's.
He wanted to do it?
So on Friday tonight in Ireland, but Ireland won the Eurovision loads of times, like 3 or 4 times in a row, and then it was costing the country a lot of money. So it's like it's a Father Ted episode, and actually happened. So then what Ireland decided to do was instead of getting experts to pick our song to go to Eurovision, we now get 5 or 6 acts and we do a live TV show and we get the public to vote. And God love the public. They never vote for anyone who has a fucking chance of winning, which suits it. Like, we Jedward stormed at one time.
Did they?
Yeah, they represented us in Eurovision because it's mainly teenage girls, I think, who vote. So like that live show is on in Ireland tonight, and Johnny Rotten is singing a ballad for his wife who has dementia. He hasn't a hope of getting through because teenage girls aren't going to vote.
No. And also, I think I heard the song. There's a song that was on the article, and I assume that's the one. And it's called Aloha. And I don't mind Pill. The first, Metal Box and the first album, self-titled, are really good. But then the rest of it's fucking awful. And I gotta say,
you're still listening to Johnny Rotten?
No, but I listened. I have heard a lot of Public Image Limited. I wanted to hear the song.
Not as good as Karl Marx's first albums, but
still pretty solid.
Building up on it.
Yeah. Mate, Karl Marx had a fucking run in the 70s. that lost period where him and Harry Nilsson were just getting hammered in LA and making records. Fucking hell.
Doing a lot of coke.
Did you know this one? I didn't know this.
It's basically what I was going to make. It's a shit song. It's
a bad song.
awful.
Is it?
It's so
And
bad.
Richie Sheehy lost out. He went to go. Do you know the guy, the comedian, the Irish comedian who did the song for Liverpool?
No.
He put in a song for it,
okay.
and quite a good song actually. He should have got on it, but anyway, he's done a video about how he's pissed off that Johnny Rotten got on instead.
Who is this guy? Come from nowhere.
But did you know that when I was in Mexico, right, Lenin was the other Russian guy? Did you know that Lenin guy? Yeah. And did you know?
I'm aware of Lennon.
Right, IN.
But no, maybe it wasn't Lenin. Was it Trotsky?
John Lennon.
No, was it that some Russian guy writer moved to Mexico for refuge, right? And Diego Rivera put him up, got him citizenship, and then he was staying in his house, and then he had an affair with Frida Kahlo, who was Diego Rivera's wife or partner, and then the Russian guy Lenin got assassinated in Mexico. The Russians came over and assassinated, and I kind of wondered, did Diego Rivera rat him out for cheating with his wife? Yeah, it's an
That'd be
interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, sounds.
Do some more research, and then we'll have
It's
another
like Love
episode.
Island. You know what I mean? It's like Love Island with assassins.
Love Island world.
Do you think there will be a time later in Love Island when they run out of ideas and they start including things like assassins?
No.
It might be fun.
No.
Well, you never know. You don't know how society's going to turn. Maybe we'll just become.
Did you watch Love Island?
I've never seen it. No, I don't really watch much
Isn't
TV.
isn't it just the same premise? Just
It's
like
same
young
premise.
people,
Yeah.
so it's
Good.
just the same thing.
It's soft porn, like.
Yeah.
Sure, I get the idea, but I remember. Yeah,
Yeah, you get the idea.
I get the
I've
idea.
seen softcore porn. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense now.
On the way here.
It's good. It's like Shakespeare soft porn. Like the backstabbing is pretty entertaining.
I made a decision a while ago to stop watching hardcore porn, and
Well, what a turn.
and I was still in my head. I was like, I can watch softcore though.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's not any better. I don't know why I decided that. That's
Slightly
not the
better, maybe
problem.
in the
with
eyes
it.
of the Lord.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, in the eyes of God,
How soft we talking?
real soft.
Just like wet
too
t-shirt
soft to get you out.
just a nice couple holding hands and smiling.
Has anyone else noticed? A lot of TV is kind of going what I would say French Revolution TV now. Like everything I'm watching now is basically
What does that mean?
yeah, everything I'm watching now is basically a TV show about rich people
Yeah.
where someone gets murdered,
That's very
right?
French
So like
Revolution.
Knives Out,
Yeah.
the
Onion.
Glass Onion, the White Lotus,
Yeah.
the
That's true,
Flight
yeah.
Attendant. Everything I watch now is like I'd watch the Kardashians now if one of
'Cause
them got
that's what
murdered
we
every
want.
week. You know what I mean? Like,
That's what we want.
because that's
to
what people
do.
want to watch.
That's what we've been.
But
That's
we
what
just
we
want
want
like
to do.
like whoever's in the TV executive play, they've just got
Yeah.
what they want to see is rich people get killed.
Yeah.
Let's just fucking
Being played
Because
by
if we
very
didn't
rich
have
people.
that,
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
didn't have that, we'd probably be killing rich
killing
people.
them. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let's hope the computer game theory is right.
Yeah, because you like White Lotus, didn't you?
I loved it.
I turned off after 3 episodes.
I thought it was amazing.
First series?
Yeah, first 3 episodes.
Ah.
I haven't seen the second.
Ah,
season
you
yet. I
gotta
really
keep
enjoyed
going, man. You gotta keep going.
Really?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
When does it get exciting? Because the first 3 episodes, I was like, this is just rubbish. Just boring.
That is a pet peeve of mine when you watch a series and you've watched like 3 or 4 episodes. Somebody goes, "Oh, but you got it gets good." And you're
Yeah,
like, "It
you
should be
need
good from
to.
episode 1."
You need to invest. You know what I mean? You need to invest.
I watched 2 series of Breaking Bad and didn't like any of it.
Well, that's the end
Breaking
of our
Bad is
friendship,
one
Yeah.
that there's quite a big investment before that gets good. They all are. Like even
the first episode, he's in his fucking underpants in the middle of the desert
Yeah.
making meth. Like, how much better do you want it to get?
It wasn't.
That's
No, it wasn't like, oh, this isn't. It's not like there's not a lot happening. It wasn't that. I just found it just kind of just dumb, and most of it seemed to be just very intense bald men in unlit rooms talking about shit. You know, just intensely talking to each other.
I think you're talking about a different show.
No, that's what it was.
Breaking Bad, or are you talking about Judge Judy?
I'm talking about Breaking Bad. I didn't like it at all.
Better Call Saul, maybe.
That's what it was to me. It was just a load of people
I think
just.
that's the single
I couldn't get into Better Get Saul though.
Really?
Yeah.
That I could get into.
I couldn't get into that.
That I enjoyed.
Slower, but it gets good.
Does it?
That's what everyone.
You know what I
says.
think it is?
Yeah.
I think it's
Slow
just.
burn, slow burn.
I think it's just the central conceit of Breaking Bad. I was just like, this is dumb as shit.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm ever going
Yeah.
to be able to get over how dumb.
That
it
is fair. There is like you have to get past that initial thing of like your solution to this problem is to start
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
meth.
Yeah.
I think you just have to like once if you buy into that, the show's fantastic.
Also-
if you don't,
Yeah,
There's
but
also-
we have a welfare system. That's why we can't get our head
Yeah, but
around
there's also
it.
there's like
You know
a bit
what I mean?
there's a bit really early on in the first series where he goes to a house party with a rich guy who's just like, I'll pay for all of your medical treatment. And yes, I understand that they have like a dark past between them and that there's a reason why he doesn't want to take the money.
Yeah.
But also, if it's a choice between that or making and selling meth, take the fucking money.
No,
But obviously
man,
it happens step by step, and he's only going to make one batch.
That's
Yeah.
but that's
You know?
to be honest though, like I know a lot of men, probably myself included, because in that scenario he's been fucked over by this guy, and it's almost like am I dying, and now I'm gonna be like it's being completely emasculated by this dude, right? But also, if you go the traditional route, because I know it is ridiculous to making meth, but if you do the traditional route, like, what does he do? Just like do a GoFundMe and he gets some money together to try and get. That's boring. No one wants to.
Yeah.
hear that,
it's
so.
also
Yeah, but
in
it
terms
would
of the
actually be more
story-
realistic, and it would be quite an interesting sort of breakdown of how
That's
American
reality
society
TV.
is relying on handouts from other people.
No, that's why it is a great show, because he's got a fatal flaw. His fatal flaw is pride.
Yes.
So and that's what drives him all. That's what gets him every season. His pride gets in the way of him.
100%.
Yeah, it's like a Shakespearean character. That's the one thing he fucks up on.
Yeah, I just couldn't
flaw.
get into it.
Yeah.
What's your fatal flaw, Dave?
What's my fatal flaw?
Oh yeah, what's it? Your seven? Is it the 7 deadly sins?
The 7 deadly sins.
Oh, so I got to pick one of them.
No, well, yeah.
Oh, have all 7 if you want. It's up to you, man.
What would be? What would be? What would lead to your
That's the point of it. That's how that works. What would be my? I don't know.
Hubris.
Hubris.
You don't have to, I don't think that's one.
That's
of them.
not
That's
it.
a new word. That's not a Bible word.
That's the 8. That's the 8.
What's not in the Bible?
That's not in the Bible. That's a fucking corporate word.
That's the most Irish thing you've said on the podcast.
That was not in the Bible.
And Jesus came down to the cross and suffered from hubris.
We need a guy who's in the corner. We need a guy in the corner who always just says whenever there's a word that's not in the Bible. That's not in the Bible, actually. Yeah, that's bullshit.
There they are. Look, there we go. Lust, gluttony, greed,
Thank you
sloth,
for bringing up pictures.
wrath,
It's the same
envy,
picture amongst all of them.
pride.
How do I tell between the
Oh,
blue
right,
one
very
and the
good.
red one?
So that's where you got it from, pride. Yeah.
I can't read that for shit.
What's avarice?
What's the one at the end there? I can't.
Avarice is when
Avarice,
you
what is
is when you want a lot. So like when you
Is that
So that'd be
jealousy?
same as greed. That'd be
Greed,
greed.
yeah.
Wait, what exactly is wrath again?
Wrath,
That-
Wrath.
Anger.
Anger.
Wrath. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's envy. I think mine's envy.
I think mine's envy too. I don't
Yeah.
want to admit it, but I think envy could be the one.
I-
Envy or lust.
'cause I'm
I don't know. I don't want to admit either of them.
Envious of other people having lust. Yeah. Watching other people get laid.
Just a
Softball
horny,
forward,
envious
basically.
man.
Envy or lust.
Softball lust,
Gee,
yeah.
I met a guy once who, oh god, this is a horrific story. He had a very messy divorce, like very messy divorce, and she was an alcoholic, and he had a business basically, and she said to him, "You give me the house, or I'm going to go to the Inland Revenue and show them how you haven't been paying all your taxes, right?" And he went to his solicitor, and his solicitor was just like, "You're going to have to give her the house, because if she goes, you'll probably go to jail. Like you'll have a bill you won't be able to pay." But he still had, like, he was doing quite well. He still had a couple of $100,000, and he told me that he just, for a couple of years, just did cocaine and prostitutes and blew the whole lot and ended up homeless. And I was like, "Oh my god!"
Is that what? Oh, that was post-divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
But
He just went.
So he was ticking off the 7 deadly sins one by one.
Yeah. Well,
See, that's the
and
thing.
lust is the one that.
That's what you're
well, I
supposed to
think-
do after a divorce, but not all of it. You're
jeez,
supposed to.
yeah,
Set
yeah.
aside a lump sum.
Do it
But
for like a
he
month,
was just
and then
so,
resurface.
He was just so broken, like
Yeah.
because he didn't see it coming.
He's the victim.
He said like he said he neglected his, like he was a workaholic. He had a business. He was a workaholic. He was complete. He completely ignored her deterioration into alcoholism, and then
Right.
you
Did
know.
he rebound at all, or is he?
Oh, it's the cocaine and prostitute.
Oh,
rebound, right?
well, not really.
No?
Like you don't come back from that.
Was he doing cocaine and prostitutes pre-divorce?
No,
So
never.
he was like a good
no,
Christian man before.
Well, I don't know if he's a good
Bible
Christian
words.
man.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly, but like he wasn't spending $200,000 a year.
Is that what you'd do if you get filthy rich? Do you reckon?
No, no one does that for, like, that's something someone does when they've
That's bad.
been broken. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think that's you win the lottery, you're gonna like, that's not fun. Like, that's horrific. Like,
It only ends badly. Like Charlie Sheen basically did that. He had like millions and millions and millions.
And he did that,
He
did
get,
he?
like, HIV.
Yeah, that's what
I mean, that's a lesson, isn't it?
Jesus.
It's all fun and games
Yeah.
until
You get
someone
HIV.
contracts HIV.
That's it,
I feel like there's an easier lesson you could get before
I
HIV.
think HIV is pretty decent. Yeah.
The first time you get hurt.
No, I mean, that is lesson learned. That is lesson learned.
Yeah.
Although I don't think he stopped.
He's come full circle though, because
Has
I feel
he?
like I feel like in terms of in the public image, because he was like the man, and then he became like this guy who was like doing rock star shit, and then it was pretty bad. And now when you see him online doing videos and stuff, all the comments are like, "Oh my god, Charlie Sheen, you're like a legend," and it's almost like people see him as like
Yeah, but
a
I
good
think
male
actually
role model now.
people liked it at the time. Even then, like I remember when there was that interview. I don't think there were
Tiger
actually.
Blood interview.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't think
yeah.
there were actually many people that were like, "Oh, this is despicable." I think most people watching it like, I don't know.
No, I definitely was. I was like, this is incredible.
That's kind of raw.
He
Yeah,
was
But I
insane.
think the reason people like him now, and that's why anybody who does anything fucked up, I think provided you like, this is me. I am this guy.
Own it.
You own it. People are like, fair play. Because
Yeah.
we recognise we're all fucked up in some way. Like, we all
Yeah.
do fucked up shit from time to
Yeah.
time. So if people own it and acknowledge it, we're kind of cool with it.
I think that's so true, isn't it? I think it's only when people try and portray themselves as one thing, and then they suddenly found out, oh, you were supposed to be the goody two shoes, and then you were doing this stuff on the side.
Yeah.
We feel betrayed. and
People-
I think
yeah.
confidence.
It's a Tiger
Have
Woods
you
problem.
ever met
If Tiger
someone?
Woods have been a bad boy of golf his whole career.
Yeah.
Everyone be like, oh, that's what he does.
Do you ever, because every time I meet someone that's like very, very clean cut, there are exceptions to this. There are a couple of people I know that are genuinely very, very just like clean, wholesome people. But most people that you meet, especially men, you meet them and if they seem really clean cut, you're like, where's the fucking
Well, yeah,
darkness?
well,
Where's the darkness going?
I don't trust them.
Well,
I
there's
don't
a
trust
yeah.
them
Well,
at all.
there's a saying in Ireland, too sweet to be wholesome. Like people are very suspicious of people who don't have a flaw. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Because you want a flaw.
he's a
First
good husband. He's not drinking. He's looking after the guy. Here. I don't like him in my neighborhood. Get him out of here. Who the fuck does he think he is?
There's also a certain element. There's also a certain element of like, particularly when someone's that clean. I don't know. Maybe this is just because like we are men, so like I feel like I feel this more with men. When someone's like that clean, you're like, what are we gonna fucking talk about?
But I think
Yeah.
women have it too. Like if if there's a woman at work and she's not getting in the bitching, the women will all get very suspicious of her. Do you know what I mean? Like she never says nothing bad about anyone.
Yeah.
Never criticizes someone's appearance.
Yeah.
Huh. Never even slags off Mary's makeup.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this woman?
But sometimes people can be quite hard on themselves if they're not taking the bitch, and the people that they're bitching on is themselves, and they're normally like self-hurting almost.
Oh yeah, but we're all self-hurting, Adam. For fuck's sake,
yeah.
dude.
I don't know that type of podcast. Put the Samaritan's number at the bottom, please, just if you need a call. Just for fucking Jack here. No, but I see what you mean though, because like it's you do. I feel comfortable around. Like I actively seek out in my friendship group like active pieces of shit, which is part of the reason why I'm here.
To make you feel better. Yeah.
Adam's like one of my closest friends, so that really fucking. I see Adam like every few days.
Adam's like, I hated myself till I met Dave. Then everything turned for me.
But there's no like sense of shock there. I'm fully aware, like, yeah, I am a piece of shit.
That's our relationship.
Yeah, that is. But I think you're a piece of shit.
Thank
as well.
you, and I wouldn't want to be seen any other way.
But it's so true. So last week I was doing some work in an advertising agency, and the way they have to speak to each other is so sanitized and so double speaky and really weird. And you can tell no one. Like, I had a guy literally say to me like, "I know that's the truth, but please don't. We can't talk about that." Then at the weekend did a gig with Emmanuel Snooby and Matt Reed, known each other for a long time. The things they were saying to each other in the green room were fucking horrific.
Yeah.
And there was another, Frances was on the bill as well, and she was a bit like, oh, wow, you guys really go out.
But that's what it's about.
Because
though.
that's what it's about.
That's why we do
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Exactly. It's like, because you want to convey that closeness and that conviviality. You're like, I can say anything to you, you can say anything to me. And that's how you know it's real.
Yeah.
And you want to know where you stand with people, like. Do you know what I mean? When they're doing the double speak and everything, you don't know where the fuck you're.
It's so weird.
It's also it's like a sign of endearment as well, because like when it in green, talking about green rooms, like when we've done Shakespeare. And we have comedians in the green room in that little space there, and we're just ripping at each other. I've definitely had that experience where someone who comes in who maybe isn't as comfortable.
Oh
comes
yeah,
in
yeah,
and
yeah.
go,
Or even just an audience member walks through.
You
Sometimes.
gotta go, oh no, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
we know each other,
Yeah.
and it's like. I only start insulting people when I get comfortable with them. I'm
Yeah.
really polite with
Yes.
people initially, and that Yeah.
Because you're a good person.
Yeah.
Because that's the
Yeah.
thing. If you're actually a good person, you'll
Yeah.
be polite with a stranger. But
Yeah.
the way of conveying intimacy is like you make fun of.
Yes, knowing that there's no hard feelings, and it's all just fucking around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And then to see the relief of, sorry, Francis got like, you could see it, like, oh, this is great. I'm in an environment where we can do this.
Yeah.
And then it's like the longer I've been doing comedy, the more I feel like people who don't get access to that, especially at the minute when people talk about cancel culture. So I was like, oh, comedians got to do this. It's like, I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is people working in a corporate job where like we got a briefing about female YouTube creators for this ad agency, and the first thing everyone said was like, can't use that word. You can't talk about
female.
Yeah,
Can't say female.
Can't say female. And that was like the biggest debate of
because we don't want to promote these people, or like what was the?
Because what is it and who are they?
Well, that's an interesting one on the news.
They're called chick influencers over here. Chick.
No, wasn't yeah, but that was wasn't Rishi asked by Piers Morgan what a woman was?
Was he?
He was asked,
and did he answer?
No, he was the only one who said an adult human female.
Yeah,
which is answering it but kind of swerving it. But basically, Piers Morgan was kind of going, "I've asked Keir Starmer, I've asked Nicola Sturgeon, and they all don't know what it is." And then he was just like, "Well, it's an adult human female," and that's enough to get votes now. Because he said his version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying there isn't nuance to that debate. I'm fine with the nuance. I'm fine with the nuance of the question.
Yeah.
What I found was interesting was no one in the room felt comfortable just saying, well, in 99.9% of cases, or like, even why is that the first thing we're talking about in an advertising brief?
Yeah.
They're supposed to be helping to redress the imbalance of creators on a platform.
Yeah.
And no one was saying what they meant, because when you get them in like at the pub afterwards or a coffee shop, like, oh yeah, well, I know what we're doing and I know what the brief is, but in a room of people they had to have this like weird...
As long as we're prioritizing men, that's what I want. It's just
well, which was my response.
I guess exactly.
In real time, we're kind of basically trying to write a new set of morals. Like we're basically trying to fill the vacuum that we're leaving behind from religion, because religion just didn't evolve to the modern world. It just became incompatible with the modern society. So we are now.
Islam's doing pretty
we are now. Islam doing well?
Not in the modern world, it isn't.
Oh, you're going to get killed.
Yeah, I'll be fine, mate.
I'll be locking that door. Do you know what I mean?
Dave, we're in Vauxhall now, mate, but don't go to Chadwell or Birmingham or
fucking telling people where we are.
I don't leave one road in central London. I'll be
under
fucking
the
fine.
bridge, shipping container. On the doors, Jonathan.
But effectively, that's.
But Islam is doing well.
But effectively, what's happening in the West is we are trying to write a new religion in real time, and we're not hiring anyone to write it. Like we did, the gospel who wrote we're just all trying to write it on Twitter at one time, like Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And fucking, it's hard.
Yeah.
So is that your case to go back to religion, maybe?
Well, no, because the only way you go back to religion is it has to evolve, like, because there's too much incompatibility there. Like, do you know what I mean? You can't, like, there's an interesting case in Ireland at the minute where there's a religious evangelical teacher. Have you heard about this story?
No.
Oh, fucking hell, lads. It's a big story in Ireland. There's this guy who he's in a boarding school now. I don't know if it's a relevant story, but it's a Protestant boarding school in Ireland, so it's not. It's a less typical school in Ireland.
So it's evil.
Well, I just want you, yeah.
Give us a lot of context.
I just want you all to know that the bigots in Ireland we're more Protestant than Catholic, right? That's all I want you to know. I know it wasn't presented to you like that in this country, but this story will kind of highlight. So anyway, he's in this school. He's in this. I think it's a fee-paying school, a boarding school or whatever, and there's someone in the school who now wants to be referred to as they, them, rather than he, her, I don't even know, or she, whatever. And this guy is just like, no, I'm not going to do that. It goes against my religious beliefs. And they're like, okay, they didn't really know what to do with him. And then there was like an event, I think a teacher-parent event or a dinner. And he had been told by the principal, you have to do this. And he's like, I'm not going to do it. So he went to this event and made a massive scene and started shouting and challenging the principal. So they suspended him on full pay to investigate his behavior, because so then anyway he kept showing up at the school even though he was suspended. So then they took an injunction out against him, and then he broke the injunction. So then he went to jail for 100 days, and then the judge kicked him out of jail because he said he was only using it to boost his profile. And then And the latest turn of it now is he kept turning back up at the school, like kept turning and saying like he's refusing. I'm just going to work. And Craic knows what makes it. So now a judge. It'll be interesting to see what he does next. A judge has now said that for every day he shows up to school, a €700 fine, right? But he's saying that he's been persecuted for his religious beliefs. But he got suspended for everything for how he attacked and shouted at the principal rather than refusing to say the thing. But no one in the country's on his side.
Right.
No one.
Really?
No one in the country's on his side.
I don't
because
think
his
there's
behavior
anything
is-
in the religion that says you can't.
No. His behavior is very
That's
obnoxious.
just made it up.
But this is the main incompatibility with religion is it just doesn't seem to be able to accommodate the fact that most of us have no problem with gay people now or with transgender. It just is. It struggles with sexuality. Always has done. Religion does not know how to do sexuality. Well, not in a healthy way, and that's the big problem we have with religion.
Like the sky god religions, like Judaism, Islam, Christianity.
Well, I only know about the Catholic Church. I will not be commenting on any other religions.
There's only one God.
Judaism knows how to do sex.
Go on.
Do they?
Judaism knows, but it's only within marriage. But it's very encouraged.
I thought you were going to quote the Arab.
It's all part of it.
But they promote healthy sexual relations.
Yeah, because they want children.
Yeah.
As many as possible. So it's like a lot of the rules around periods are and sort of what a man can and cannot do, like with his wife while they're on their period, is all to sort of encourage lack of sexual activity while the woman isn't ovulating. So then when they are ovulating, they fucking go in for it.
Again, and you have to forgive me where these facts are from. It comes straight from Ari's special
That's what I was
Jew.
thinking.
Isn't a woman described in Judaism as unclean while she's on her period and she can't even sleep in the same bed?
I'm not saying it's not misogynistic, but that's a difference
I don't
between.
think it's healthy,
Unhealthy though. That's unhealthy.
That's
though.
unhealthy.
You know, that's
And
not
then-
that's
and
not
then
compatible
you're
with a
not allowed
modern
to-
relationship.
You're not allowed to have sex with
but
them
it
for
is
2 weeks.
there.
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
say
but
that's
that's
healthy.
but that's the problem with all the
That's not healthy
religions.
at all.
They need to have a PR sex department who's like, you know, someone needs to revise this bit. You know, we love the forgiveness, like in Ireland, love the forgiveness.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Confessions, fucking love it.
I'm all for
Sex is where it all falls down. Sex is where it all falls
I'm
down.
all for Judaism, but isn't it? I'm not going to be the one to say it, but isn't there someone?
I'm all for Judaism, but
This is where JP Walker's going to freeze by 50
they
quid.
stole our land.
No. What's that thing when rabbis, when they circumcise the babies, they have a weird
Bris.
ritual? Bris, which is the act of.
Well, they
Yeah.
it's not.
Can you just say what it is, please, Dave?
right? So they use their mouth to take the foreskin off the baby's penis, but that's
Yeah.
that's
Grim,
not very
grim
common.
AF.
It's not very common. It's particular Hasidic
But it
communities.
shouldn't be. That
and
should be
and
illegal.
It's not really practiced anymore.
Yeah, that's not. It is like a very.
It's very specific.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was only actually like the American sex that did it. I don't think it's
I
actually.
don't think it's a UK
Like,
thing.
it's
UK.
no,
Thank God.
and it's also it's not like a fundamental.
Well, my point is, it's not
practice.
healthy. I don't want to.
No,
Yeah.
of course it's not. That's why you're not allowed to do it anymore.
But basically,
Because there was a rabbi in New York State that had herpes
Yeah.
and gave it to a load of babies.
And that's disgusting. But that's not the reason why you shouldn't be doing it because a rabbi might have herpes. It's really just don't do that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right?
it should.
No.
You know, there was a paedophile priest in Dublin, right, who had a swimming
Shocker.
pool.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, yeah. No, but
Get away.
You know, he had a swimming pool in the back of his house that he used to let troubled kids use for free. I wonder, is that where Michael Jackson got the idea from? Do you know what I mean? Like Jackson saw the pool and thought he's on to something there. You know?
Just gonna make it a bit bigger. Big grander and a giraffe.
Oh, wow. That's ignorant.
But basically, we're writing a new religion Wikipedia style.
Yeah.
Just with no forgiveness in it.
Just with no forgiveness. So our problem is
That's the bit we need. We need to
Forgive
because that's
us.
the bit where it all falls down because at the moment there's all the proselytizing and everyone's creating all these rules and people are falling foul of these rules and getting yelled at for them, which is the religion side of it. But we need the forgiveness part.
And there's
to
no
actually
redemption
carry
now.
on.
Yeah.
There's no redemption
Yeah.
at all.
Do
Exactly.
you know, the forgiveness bit I could live without, but the bit that bothers me is it's the not eating meat. Like all my family were pig farmers, and do you know what I mean? Like
Oh, mate.
I just can't give up the meat.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I will. Look,
Isn't
You
it-
don't have to follow their
but
religion.
once it becomes,
Yeah.
they're going for, they'll go for that.
Oh, dude. So again, spending time like in a more corporate environments, so I dip in and out. that thing.
Yeah.
If you're on the wrong side of the environmental debate, that's become now more of almost like a it's a signal that whether you're a good person or not.
Yeah.
It's got a morality aspect. And I grew up on a farm as well.
Mm.
So I was someone was vegan and they were sort of really going hard at me about it. And I was like, well, when you grow a big field of soy or whatever, you have to kill all the animals in that field
To get the field.
Yeah, of course you do. You have to,
cut down the forest, kill the
you have to
wolves.
kill all the rabbits. You have to kill everything goes. So all you're saying is there's certain animals you find cute and certain animals you don't find cute. It's
an interesting one, isn't it?
it's an
Because there's all these
interesting
people that was like, say, oh, it's really bad for the environment. Like, I'm undoubtedly, like, industrial pig farming and
Exactly.
cow farming in particular is terrible. But I would be interested to know the people that are very up on it, what their actual practical knowledge of farming is, because I don't think there's a lot in there.
No.
I think they're making an assumption that one action is better than the other. It's like people saying like, oh, it's important to recycle. You've got to recycle, particularly in this country. Do you know where our recycling goes? It goes to another country.
And they burn it.
And they burn it.
And they burn it.
So it doesn't make any fucking difference at all.
There's no recycling in Mexico.
So like
They're not recycling in
reducing your
Mexico.
eating of cows, sure. Like you could reduce that and that might help. I mean, like in the larger sense, no, it won't. Like that's not how like the march of capitalism works. Like, it won't make any fucking difference. But
sorry, go ahead.
But it's kind of like the recycling thing. It's like, do you really think that your actions on a small level, in terms of like consumption and how you're choosing to buy things, do you think that makes any fucking difference at all?
It blows my mind. Like the UK accounts for 2% of global emissions. So when people, I don't know if you ever seen what's the Extinction Rebellion?
Yeah.
Extinction
You ever
Rebellion.
seen them get interviewed? They're psychotic. They've gone mental.
Ideologically possessed. Like you see in the eyes.
They've gone psychotic.
No, they've gone mad.
And like if you don't do this, the world's like if Britain fell off the face of the earth, it wouldn't make any change to global emissions. So even if you think that that's the problem, like we're not the issue. And I think a person who is like a regenerative farmer and a vegan would have so much in common. They would both agree we shouldn't be mass-producing animals.
Yeah.
They would both agree we should have eating
Also,
less meat.
I
more
bet there's a
sustainably.
shit ton of vegans using toilet paper. Where the fuck do you think that comes from? You're using a lot of energy. You're driving around everywhere. Like you work in a city.
Well, there's
Scrolling a
all
lot
of
on a
those
phone
things
that
are way
requires
worse than
energy.
anything you decide to eat.
and the phone you're sort of tweeting from, is normally made in a country by slaves.
Yes.
And then it's the minerals,
Cobalt
strips. We've all heard about that now, and it's like, it's there's definitely hypocrisies, and also electric cars. Is it renewable energy you're using, or are you getting it from a coal mine?
Which is also it's not to say like there's no point in doing those things. If it makes you feel better, great, absolutely. But have enough sort of like understanding or self-awareness to understand that like it doesn't really fucking do any difference. And if someone chooses not to do that, it makes as little difference as you choosing to do it.
Yeah.
It's just about how.
So it's
good you
kind of
feel
like in
about it.
the past, people thought that by not behaving morally, that was causing storms and causing
it's basically
bad
the
harvests
same
and all that. Right, Mexico, do you know what the Aztecs used to do, right? I went to these pyramids in Mexico and doing a tour, right? And we went to this amazing pyramid site, right? And every year they used to select the baby to bring up to the top of the highest pyramid and sacrifice the baby.
Yeah.
And it was to the gods in the hope that it would rain, right?
Well, that would work actually.
I think this is the kind of aspect to this new religion that we need.
The priest would pick the baby, and it was a privilege for the family, and the family would get moved into nicer dwellings.
How nice we
to
talking?
kind of reward them. I don't really know.
Do you know-
I think in a better location, like, but I was wondering, but no one could answer. Like, if they sacrifice your baby, you move into the nicer house, and it doesn't rain. Did it kick you out of the nice house?
Yeah, great question. Because I think that's how like pagan shit used to work in Europe.
Yeah.
Like if the sacrifice didn't lead to the thing, it was like, well, that's your fault.
Did. So
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
okay, yeah.
As a punishment.
And
for
then
killing
I
the
was kind of
baby.
wondering, like, I have a sunny disposition. Like, I was born smiling. Like, would I be picked as a special baby? Like, then my dad would have to be like, "We've enough sunshine here. You need a crier. Get a fucking crier, lads. If you want rain, get a crying baby." I'm the chosen one. Kill me.
So is the sort of moral that we're taking from this, or the sort of conclusion we're taking from this, is that all the people that Tom works with that think it's a moral duty to do these things. If
they're
climate
deluded.
change still happens, we can sacrifice them to the gods.
Please, that'd be great.
That would be good. And you know the crazy thing is, I don't think anyone would miss them. I think it'd be fine. I really don't think anyone would miss an advertising executive if we just locked them off.
No fun at pies.
And it might help.
The baby thing's really
At the very
interesting.
least,
because
we can eat them. That's carbon neutral.
the baby thing's quite interesting because it does sound quite barbaric on the surface of it, right? Obviously, but then you imagine if that was put today and it was like, okay, well, you had a kid, and we could do the same sort of deal for you, but instead of like, we can get you like a nice 2-bedroom flat in Clapham,
Right?
That some people, I know some people would go, well,
well, look,
It's
those
horribly dark,
parents.
but do people sacrifice their own kids to maintain their lifestyle? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
Full
that. But
circle.
What was that one?
Delaying having children and sacrificing
Ah.
the ability to have kids to have a
better
life.
partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, did it?
And that comes back to religion, doesn't it?
Those parents let their kids stay at Michael Jackson's house for a house,
Oh yeah.
essentially. So that was.
I had a great time there. It was fucking
Yeah.
That was very good.
Got to see a giraffe.
Good bit.
No, it's true. It's true. So that we're gonna do like
So nothing changes.
so nothing
No,
changes.
doesn't change.
Nothing.
Now I'll tell you what does change. I thought this was interesting, right?
It sounded like you got to go to a sponsor. Just
No,
there.
no, I'll tell you.
I didn't know sleep, but
just
just
very
back.
good.
Burger King burgers evolving ever since 1954.
on that nothing changes thing. Just very quick, I think that's why visions of the future, like Futurama. Futurama is the best vision of the future I think that's ever been created because the technology increases, but everyone's still an arsehole.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing
That's
actually
100%.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I thought, that if you look, because I was at a lot of old kind of rooms, if you look at like the buildings of the modern world are skyscrapers,
Yep.
right? There are pyramids, right? And skyscrapers are clearly like an ode to cocks. They look
phallic,
like
yeah,
they're phallic, right? But the old people, it's all like pyramids, like that's like breasts. Like when did we flip from breast worshippers to cock worshippers?
When did you what kind of breasts have you seen? That are
But
like
the shade, like it's there is breast like as a skyscraper's cock like.
triangles?
Yeah. From breast.
I would have said the Eden Project's very breast-like.
If you look at a pyramid and tell me what part of the body is that
fine,
most
but
like.
they also built obelisks and they're pretty dick shaped.
That's true, actually. They had those.
What's an obelisk?
The
That's
big tall.
Big dick.
Oh
Like
yeah,
the-
but
like the
there was,
Washington one.
but there was far less of them.
I think
There was far less, and in all the old art, there's loads of breasts.
Yeah.
Loads of breasts.
Yeah. No, it's
And
true.
breastfeeding, loads of it. I think it's a Catholic church, is it? It was a Catholic church.
That's what I was thinking.
They brought us from breast lovers to cock lovers.
I don't know if I see breasts as the pyramids, but yeah,
I mean, it's closer than dicks.
Closer than dicks.
depends on the.
It's not a dick.
We've got
No, it is not a dick. That is true.
When did this podcast evolve?
we've got an episode title closer than dicks.
I don't think it's evolving. I think it's a good point. Yeah. When did that happen? When did we
Yeah.
shift that? When did
Yeah. When did we start like that?
when did
When land started getting
Yeah.
more
I've
expensive.
googled that question.
Go on.
Did you?
0 results.
There
Ah.
we go.
Well,
Yeah.
then we know what this
So there still are some mysteries.
there's a gap in academia that we need to
I
solve.
want to see the Discovery Channel episode on this. Well, the aliens came and they didn't have any cocks. So.
Yeah. we did
And the documentary will be called An Ode to Cox.
Well, it's clearly at some
By
point.
Brian
At
Cox,
some
please.
point, it's probably at the point. When we were hunter gatherers, men and women were probably considered more equal.
Mm.
And then at some point, with the capitalist system or with the settled system or whatever system, men started elevating their advantage.
Mm.
That's when the buildings
That's when
became more
Cox came in.
cock-like.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's just.
It's the first dick pic.
You ever seen any Maori art, like Maori
Yeah.
carvings? A lot of
No.
dicks.
Is
A
there?
lot of dicks.
Is
yeah.
there? Yeah.
There's I remember going to see a Maori warship, and it was in like a very decorated sort of like I know like a
Amazing
hut but
stuff.
without the walls. I don't know what you
Right.
call that. Kind of like a big gazebo thing. And each of the
Made out of
pillars that was
dicks.
holding the roof up was just a guy at the bottom, like on his back with a massive dick,
cock.
and then every other character sort of on the dick.
Yeah.
And the dick would kind of go through the person and up through the mouth like a big long cock.
So the Maoris inspired the
And I'm
skyscraper.
just like looking at it with my mum, like trying to pretend like we're not looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Oops.
No, no.
So the Maoris basically
don't Google
inspired
dicks.
skyscrapers.
Bigger than that. Bigger than that.
Bigger.
It would be like a guy
It'd be holding
literally-
up the whole building, like.
Yeah, like a guy lying on his back, and his dick would be the whole totem pole.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
This is why I like Greeks, Greek culture. They're very tiny dicks.
Have they
very
small
tucked
dicks?
away.
Oh,
The statues famous. It was actually seen as like a.
It's actually not all tiny dicks. Some of the satyrs had massive dicks.
But wasn't it? It was like seen as like a good thing. Like had to have a tiny dick. That was like
There's a little bit
You
of
had a big swinging dick.
there's kind of a bit of
savage.
there's kind of a bit of back and forth on that
I
because
know you are the expert on dicks. So
no, because I think it was more of a Roman idea later that the idea that and it was sort of to diminish Africans is when they started going further into Africa and they were like, oh, these savages with their big dicks must take ages for their jizz to get to the end of the dick. We're all fertile because it takes just a second straight in.
That's what they were saying, right?
Yeah, that's what they were yeah, and it was just like it was sort of like close knit. You can run around, it doesn't flop everywhere, and you can keep it together. But then also the Catholic Church would go around lopping dicks off things.
No, no, there was one pope.
Yeah,
There was one pope in the Vatican who took all the dicks off the statues.
I hope he had a collection of dicks.
Yeah.
so it's a bit.
There's been one straight pope. One straight pope. It's like, why is there dicks everywhere in this house?
That's why the Vatican's more pussy shaped than dick shaped.
Let's bring back the pyramids, guys.
He was the one guy who built it, and he's like, I want a big pussy shaped building.
Yeah.
And I'm getting rid of all these dicks. I've had enough of these dicks.
That's a hell of a working group. Like, lads, can we do something about the perception of cocks in the Roman Empire? Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Sort that out.
Anyway, lads, we've only 5 minutes left. So, Tom, do you want to do the?
Have we only got 5 minutes left?
We only got 5 minutes left.
Dealer's
I
choice.
feel like we've only got started.
Either give us something that annoying you, something you're loving, or a bit you're trying.
Okay.
Any of those.
Well, I was going to try a bit about dicks and statues, but what have I got any bits I'm trying? I've only got one and it's fucking awful. So Coumas, you go.
Oh, okay. Right.
No, it doesn't have to be a bit. You can. It's something you love,
Something you
something that's
enjoy,
annoying you,
Something that's annoying me.
or something you love.
Something I love. What do I love?
Or recommend.
Do you have anyone who loves you? What's going on?
I don't have anyone that loves me. No one. No one.
Ah,
loves
well, I
me.
love you, Dave.
You didn't even look me in the eyes.
No,
when you
I
said
didn't. I
that.
love the way I said it.
He has to say it for the show. He's got a persona to keep up.
I thought it'd be too weird to make eye contact with you. So said it.
So yeah, I'm working on a bit currently about one of my previous the last relationship I was in. It was like a dating. She's dating. She was a feminist, super far on feminist, but like borderline. Like man, what's the man hater? Is it what's the reverse of that? Not a misogynist.
Oh, misandrist.
Misandrist.
Is that not all people, or is that men? Is it?
Men.
That's when you hate men. Yeah. But yeah, so like this was somebody who I was like head over heels for sort of broke my heart sort of a little bit, and I'm just trying to make it a bit sort of like funny in terms of like the ways I was tiptoeing around and trying to be super extra progressive, trying to match it.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit in there like me becoming a bit of a simp and like trying to like she was coming over to my place and she had like period cramps. I was like, I'm gonna do something really nice for her. Get this nice little care package. So I get her like fucking hot water bottle, blankets. I spent £7 on like period pain specific ibuprofen, like because it was in pink. It came in a little packet. And then basically it's like the relationship ended, and now I'm stuck with this really expensive ibuprofen, which I'm now taking for headaches because I don't want to waste any money.
I saw him do it the other week. It worked. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah.
I got a terrible bit about it's barely even an idea and there's no punchline to it. But two. One of them that like your Instagram reels, like they'll just suggest you some, like and sometimes you're like, I don't think I'm into that at all.
Yeah.
And I got suggested one, and I couldn't even like. I had to go past it really quickly, so Instagram wasn't like, I knew you'd like that. And it was a breastfeeding video, and I was like, I don't know where you're getting that from, mate.
Yeah.
I don't like that. And then last week I got one that was a gay porn star, and I felt really proud of myself for being so progressive.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I like the Instagram and TikTok does it every now and then. It's like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure though?
Yeah,
Just got this gif of this very handsome man, and I was like,
yeah,
good for me.
You skipped too
Good for me.
many breast videos.
Too many breast videos. Yeah.
exactly.
Here's a man.
Just try and go the other way, and they were like, oh, I guess he's not interested in that anymore. Here's a sexy boy.
I thought with yours on where you're going to go with it was like she hated men.
Yes, yeah.
And like you ended up hating yourself.
Whoa.
It's a bit Stockholm syndrome, isn't it?
There's definitely a bit of that in there. Like I've only really scratched the surface. I mean, David's seen the bit, but it's like there's a whole bit about like me doubting everything and everything else.
Yeah.
And it's like, what was it? She was a feminist in everywhere else apart from the bedroom. That was the one thing I would say is like it was very much like very different in the bedroom, but outside it was like don't talk to me like that.
I thought it was interesting when you told me, and this isn't in the bit. This is just something you told me.
Yeah.
In confidence, I'm going to tell it now.
Right. Right.
Because you got your flat flooded like really badly.
Oh yeah.
And it was just an absolute mess. And she said to you like, "Oh, I'm happy that you haven't been crying about it. And you haven't been overly emotional about it."
Full of
which I thought was
contradiction.
interesting.
She used to be. I remember. So basically, there was a bit where like she would say a lot of the stuff like March, a lot of the stuff which by saying like, "Oh, toxicity is bad." I remember seeing a guy on TV who was crying. I said, "Ah, he's a bit of a bitch," as a joke, and then she goes, "That's really toxic. I hate that. Men should be allowed to cry."
A guy that we know.
I won't say the name.
Yeah.
But it was funny. Anyway, and then she said to me separately, because I've had my fucking flat flooded since October, it's big pain in the ass, and she just went separately, "I really like how you've dealt with this." And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Oh, you haven't really cried about it, you haven't really made it anyone else's
Double
problem."
standard.
And I was like, "Oh, so when I'm criticizing taking the mick, that's really shitty, but you love the fact that,
But to be fair, lads, we are trying to write a religion Wikipedia style, so it's difficult for all of us. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no women.
So right. That's what it's exactly like religion. Like
we're making it up as we go along. Like,
Also, I don't know where she's getting that idea from because he was being a right bitch about it the entire time. He wouldn't shut up about it.
But like religions aren't compatible with like very human instinct of like sex, right? And then this new religion isn't compatible with our very basic, like human thing of like, I prefer this, I prefer that.
100%.
Like it's got that thing of like it's an incompatibility like it is with an old religion is a great idea.
Andy Haynes has a joke about. I'm gonna shout out Andy. He has a joke about like how his wife wants him to be more aggressive in the bedroom, like he wants her to dominate her and choke her, but she also wants him to make the bed more often. He's like, those are two different guys. You can't have the same guy.
There was when I was single. I was on this app called Field, which is supposed to be like a one of the new ones, one of the trendy ones. And on there, the people are saying some wild shit. There was one woman there. And I'm sorry if my mom's listening to this. Sorry, mum. There was a woman on there. She just goes, "I'm looking for a clean, respectful gangbang."
Wow.
And I just remember thinking, what are you talking about? Like, a clean respect? That's a weird thing to say.
I can understand that.
No. A clean gangbang?
I mean, respectful. I think respect is a pretty low bar to hold yourself to.
I don't know.
Clean depends on. What's the definition
hygienic,
you're going for?
hand
Hygienic.
sanitizer,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Clean, like no swearing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Bible
nice
words only in this gangbang.
It's just weird.
It is weird.
Well, people are contradictory. And
and
we should all just accept that. Like we're all hypocrites. We're all contradictory. We all do want clean, respectful gangbangs.
Well,
in different parts of our lives.
Actually, just sort of going, but there is a bit I've tagged onto that bit on the feminist bit, which is about like I think like the West is great for so many ways, especially in relationships. But I think our relationship with sex is a bit weird because when I was dating this girl and we've been seeing each other for a few months, I accidentally ruined the mood when we were having sex because I accidentally said I love you. And it was a bit like it just sort of came out when I said it, right? Yeah. And then she was like, "Oh, that's weird," and I fucked up the mood. And I was like, "That is weird," like because had she sort of said, "I'll spit in my mouth," that would have been fine, It's like that's a kind of weird fucked up thing in the West, saying something which is supposed to be nice and intimate. That's seen as gross. We're just having sex and being really intimate.
It was a first date though, so I guess that's.
It wasn't a first date. It was 3 months in, but it was one of those things where it's like that's.
Was that the first time you said I love
the respectful feeling of that gangbang?
Yeah, because it's first time. Maybe it's first time. But like it just sounds like you aren't compatible, really, doesn't it? Because I think everything you're saying there could work with someone else. Yeah. You know what I mean? There could be someone who'd be very receptive to you telling them you love them while having sex. It wouldn't always ruin the mood.
Me.
I tell Tom I love him every time.
And keeps eye contact.
It's harder than you think.
Very respectful, but not very clear.
Yeah. This has absolutely flown by. It's been a fantastic app. Guys, can you just tell everyone where they can find you on the internet?
I get at David Michael Anthony Comedy. Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Adam Coumas. Coumas spelled Coumas. There's only 2 of us on Instagram, and the other guy is legit my uncle.
So. Oh, yeah. There is also another David Anthony on Instagram. which is why I'm David Michael.
I have a friend called David Anthony who's a music producer for K-pop.
Oh well,
who lives in Streatham.
This other David Anthony is also a comedian, but much older than me and works out in LA. And he posted a video, a picture rather, on Twitter of him on TV in the '90s, and he looks almost identical to me.
So let's follow him then. That's
Very weird. And I commented on that picture saying like, "Damn, we look the same," and he liked it, which I've been trying to get his attention for years now, and he's finally acknowledged I exist. So I'm very happy about it.
I almost feel like, this is an account you set up while you're asleep.
Yeah.
And you're having like a fight club.
He's a real guy. He's a real guy. He's a real guy. He's got a podcast called The Dollop. It's fantastic. Check it out.
Yeah.
All right. And you can catch me on comedian.jack.hester Instagram.
And Thomas Henry Comedy, as always. You guys have been fantastic. It's been another great episode. We'll see you guys next week.
We did it, guys. Best episode ever.
Shout out to Jonathan on the ones and twos. Thank you.
Shout out, Colin.
Fantastic. Take care.
Tom and Jack having a crack. Tom and Jack having a crack. Tom and Jack